I will tell you, V, I fail every day. That's something I think that's very important for people to know. I think people see people like you and I in a position and they think, wow, they probably haven't failed to get there. I fail every day.
Team Bullseye, welcome to another edition of 5C7. Today I have a special treat for you guys and a friend. So I want to introduce you to Chief Master Sergeant John Moore. He is the senior enlisted leader of the 57th Maintenance Group, by far the largest maintenance group, the most diverse in terms of airplanes, people, mission. And I want to give it up to you, John, and why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Again, my name is Chief John Moore. I've been in almost 30 years now, so a little bit old. The barber didn't work too well, so kind of cut the hair and we lost a little bit, right? With that said, I'm married to another chief. There's Chief Moore and then there's the better Moore, and obviously I am just the Chief Moore, right? So, it's been an honor. Worked at many bases. I've had the honor to work for the maintainers now for the past 30 years, and honestly, just making a little bit of a difference, taking care of them and listening to their needs. Been a great experience, and being here at Nellis is just a way to end it off.
All right. Well, I'm going to put you on a stand for a little bit because I think it's important, that we share your story, and the airmen, specifically young airmen, to see what somebody's been, being a chief for a long time and being an airman for a long time. We're approaching 30 years. So as a flight line maintainer, it's a grind. So how have you stayed motivated?
Well, first let me preface this. Obviously, we've mentioned Chief Moore a couple of times. The answers I give you today are going to be from John, right? No canned answers. This is who I am, and I think this is kind of the relationship me and you have had for a while. And just to kind of keep it real for a second, right? How did I get here, right? I will tell you, it's all about learning who you are and who you're not. Watched a lot of different people throughout my career, right? Been blessed to be surrounded by some successful leaders. At the same time, I've learned some things not to do, right? And it's all about capturing those moments on what makes you good and what makes you not, and who do you want to be at the end of the day. I will tell you from the maintainers aspect, they want you to be honest and genuine with them. What they don't want is the canned answer, right? Just be real, right? We talk about it from some of our schools here, Amos. They talk about humble, credible, approachable, and I think that is such a message to carry, right? Have humility, right? At the end of the day, you're probably not as good as you think you are, and it took a whole lot of people to get you where you are, right? Credible, if you don't know something, just be honest and say, I don't know it, and I'll get back to you. Approachable, if you're going to have an open door policy, then leave it open, right, and take the time. So I think at the end of the day, it's just all about that, and it's all about being genuine with the airmen. When you go out and have conversations with them, answer them the way they want to be answered, right? Don't give them the answer that they probably always heard. Give them really what's your opinion, especially as a chief.
Yeah. So, airmen of today, what I find when I walk the streets, they're not always very quick to open up to you, and so what are some of the tricks that you do to get airmen to come to you with some of the issues that they have?
It's all about relate, right? I let a lot of the airmen know, remember, I didn't grow up as a chief. I started where you are. There's an empathy thing. You have to remember where you came from at the end of the day. You got to listen to their story. We talk a lot about airmen as let's say you work in a unit, and an airman's walking down the hall, and you ask them, hey, how's your day? How are you doing? And they give you the, oh, I'm great, and they keep walking. I always tell our senior leaders, I'm like, ask them a second time. No, really, stop for a moment and genuinely, how are you doing today? And believe it or not, sometimes they'll open up. The airmen want to be heard, and they want to be cared about. So I think it's just a matter of, do you really care? Are you truly genuine? Or at the end of the day, are you just saying it to say it, right? And we've both seen leaders on both sides, and the airmen will pick it up. I will tell you, there is no doubt that our airmen today are a lot smarter than when me and you grew up. We're not that smart, all right? But they'll see right through that stuff. So they're looking for someone, and here's the other piece to it. They're not looking for someone to pat them on the back all the time. They actually want someone that's going to tell them, this is things you need to work on and all that. They're not going to grow. They want somebody to genuinely care about them and the success of their future.
Yeah. What I find too is that airmen always assume, they just think, well, man, Chief's been in the Air Force for hundreds of years. What did John do before he came in the Air Force, and what brought John to the Air Force?
So interesting. So, I had multiple jobs before I joined. I was a bagger, a paper boy, a stalker, all that type stuff. And I really was into sports, man. I thought I was going to be a wide receiver, playing in the NFL and all that, right? It's your dreams. I quickly realized I wasn't as good as I thought I was, right? And I needed to do a different path. So, I went to Korea, went to Korea, and I was approaching my first suspense date to get out. And the better half made it very clear, well, if you're gonna get out, what are you gonna do? And it took me a moment to step back for a second and be like, I really don't have a plan. I just thought I was cool, right? I'm gonna get out and do whatever. And that was the moment that probably changed my life. I realized that, yeah, you gotta grow up a little bit and figure out what is that plan. And I will tell you, my intent was not to re-enlist when I first came in. Probably the best choice I've ever made was to re-enlist because it's never been about the money. It's always been about trying to get into a position to have the ability to take care of the airmen, and that's what drove me to where I am.
You know, I see you doing your thing, and I know we've known each other a long time, and you have boatloads of energy. What motivates you? What gives you that energy?
The airmen. Now, people will say that and be like, oh, here we go. The airman answer, right? It is. Just recently, me and my boss, Colonel Kenderson, we went to lines delivery out in Team Munns. And it was interesting. All we went there to do was load some chaff layer. Never have done it in my career, and I'm like, what an experience, right? And the airmen, as we were going through it, I could tell they were a little nervous. Yeah. And as we went through the whole thing, it was fun, it was exciting. We did a little competition. When we got done is when it woke me up. And I said, so what did you think? And their answer was, we didn't know what to think with a colonel, the group commander, and the group senior enlisted leader to come out here. But it was your positivity that made the difference. My answer is it's their positivity that makes a difference for me. When I come through the gate at our team security forces and they're smiling and they remember who you are, hey Chief, how's it going? When I go see my airmen and they're like, oh, I'm just happy to do this and that, and there's no hidden agendas, there's nothing that makes you feel better than to see them happy and positive about what they're doing. Yeah. Then it feels like me and you are doing our job.
Yeah. You got a big group, lots of airmen, you got a huge, contract maintenance thing going on. What are some of the challenges that your airmen face today, you think?
I will tell you, so some of the things is about their career. A lot of people are invested in their career. We talk about it all the time. I think we have very talented people, and I think we have hardworking people. Some are both, but not all. And like I tell people all the time, hard work will beat talent when talent doesn't work hard. So we talk about their professional growth and what they're doing and what it takes. Like, we'll use stratifications, right? I've got a big group with a whole lot more people that's deserving of a strat than receive the strat. So it's sitting down and having that honest conversation. And I think what people are looking for is, I got it, Chief, I didn't get it, but can you give me some feedback? We have to be able to take the time to go back and explain the why. We have to be able to defend what we do. Me and my boss all the time, we sit behind closed doors and we talk about the decisions that we're making. And then we challenge our own decisions to make sure, hey, can we defend it? And if we can't defend it, then it's probably not the right answer. And you've sat in my job before me. You're at the wing now. There are decisions that come from somebody above you that you need a challenge and have that argument or that discussion, right? But at the end of the day, I still got to believe in the system, right? And again, it's not the canned answer. I just got to believe that the decisions that are being made are the right decisions. For me, it's all about explaining those decisions. And here's the other thing I'll share with you. It's all about the cost of a decision. I have a lot of units, my squadron, my AMUs. The chiefs will come to me and they will want to do something different than the direction of the group. I look at the cost of it, and the cost is low to medium. We allow them to win, and why is that? I need their people to know that they can win against the position of the group. I need them to know that their thoughts are valued and that it isn't just our way. And I will tell you, once you start doing that, you will figure out quickly that our airmen are a lot smarter, that there's more buy-in to what they're doing, and it matters to them, yeah. and you'll get the thank you.
Yeah. Or a fist pump. I'm a big fist pumper. So, right. Being an airman for a long time, tell us something maybe where you failed, something you didn't get right, and then how did you overcome it?
I will tell you, V, I fail every day. That's something that I think that's very important for people to know. I think people see people like you and I in a position and they think, wow, they probably haven't failed to get there. I fail every day, and I make it very clear and I'm transparent with it. I don't know if there's really a single moment. I will tell you where I feel that I have failed that has bothered me. There are times you fight for your airmen, right? Because they made a mistake. And you go out, you have the picnic table talk, you take care of them, and you get that second chance for them. And then for whatever reason, they failed again. And you watch them leave the military. I will tell you that's very tough for me because at the end of the day, I feel like I failed, that I did not lead them right. I didn't mentor them correctly. And for that reason, we're losing somebody good. Me and the boss talk about this all the time. I never feel that someone wants to come to work any day and fail and just not do a good job. I just don't believe in that. I think some people are just, they're misguided, or maybe they just need some, some discussion, some help, a new way of thinking, or sometimes they just want an ear to listen to. And if you're not doing that, if really this is just a job, you're gonna come in, do your 9 to 5 and get out, honestly, then there's probably a rank you can get to, but there's probably, you're not gonna be at that leader level. So I will tell you, for me, it hurts when I see airmen leave the Air Force, and that's what bothers me. Or it hurts if I see someone that either put themselves in a position that, that they haven't taken care of themselves, or they're in a mental health position, and we haven't done our job to identify that and get them the help that they need. Because at the end of the day, right, me and you ain't experts in everything, but we got to help people, guide them to the experts. We aren't all knowing, right? As people think that. I just think you got to admit, when me and you are sitting here, that we don't know it all, and get people to the help that they need.
Yeah, it's happened to me. I'm in my twilight too, and I went to ask a question to FSS. Hey, did you send me this note? How do I get a note? And the airman's like, oh yeah, you get this. Are you sure you didn't get a note? And then I started thinking, the way he described the email, I got it. Then the first thing I say is, I'm sorry. That's on me. You did what you were supposed to do. That's on me. So, and I think sometimes just being vulnerable, owning your mistakes, teaching airmen it's okay to own your mistakes is half the battle. And I like what you say, because it goes into the calculus of making smart decisions, the best decisions for your team. One thing that I look at is the preservation of the institution versus the individual. And sometimes the individual could be the organization, not just the individual, and then who's the institution. And once you define the two, make the decision and have like a healthy debate, the best decision for the team. So, tell us something a success story. What was something you did, you're like, man, this is why I do what I do?
Recently, probably about a year and a half ago, we were in a position of trying to get somebody, they're extended in their AFSC. Everybody we talked to said, can't happen. So pretty much what we call PPSNs, right? People pay to say no. And we didn't take it on as a fight. We didn't take it on because let's just win. We took it on because it was the right thing to do. And I will tell you, it was a struggle at first, and it took a lot of long conversations, a lot of defending what we're doing, a lot of late night memo discussions and writing and how do we get there. Long story short, at the end of the day, we succeeded. And again, it wasn't a success just for the airmen, it was a success for a way ahead, and it was a success for us within MXG because it actually took care of us. It opened the door. What I hear a lot of times is, at different levels, why we challenge policy and all that, is you're gonna open Pandora's box, right? Well, the reason the ability is there to do a waiver request is because there's a right reason to do it. And I think sometimes we gotta make sure we're not getting lazy, right? And what's the right answer? We need to be able to take care of our airmen even when we think we're gonna get told no. That's when you fight just a little bit harder, and that's why we do what we do, right? We talk about it a lot. My previous boss that hired me, right? Shout out to Colonel Henderson. He used to tell us all the time, E plus R equals O. And which means the event plus the response equals the outcome. I talk to a lot of people about the response. There has been multiple times, right? Me and you are not immune to this, where we're mad, we're frustrated, we're yelling, right? It's all about who do I do that in front of, right? And then how do I handle that situation? And I think for some, if I could give any piece of advice is, watch your response. It doesn't matter if you're an Airman Basic, it doesn't matter if you're an 06 or the General. People are watching, right? And they want to see what you're capable of. And how do you handle that stress? You ain't got to agree. That's okay. But what you got to do is learn how to disagree the right way.
Yeah, I think our airmen, they need to understand, and I hope that they understand. We don't always agree with everything, and then things don't always bounce our way. When you talk leadership, when things bounce your way, the airman is low maintenance. That's not really leadership. Leadership is when, like a golf swing, you hit a golf ball and it goes into the rough, the sand. How do you get out of it? There's a reason why Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson are as good as they are. They hit in the sand. But how do they know, like, what's their approach and how to navigate out of the sand, the response, So, but, a lot of times too, when we're out, we'll run into airmen, and airmen ask me a lot of time, when they find out that, I was married to a retired master sergeant, how did you guys do it? And I tell them, well, it's communication. Communication, I think, is the crux to most of the issues when you're mill to mill, because there's expectation management and also surprise management. But also, what I tell them is, my wife and I, we set rules. We weren't allowed to talk about work at home. because we have a tendency to want to fix each other's problems, and the next thing you know, or we're both end up mad, So we figured out pretty quick, early in our marriage, we're not talking about work. When an airman asks you, what is your advice, mill to mill? You've been mill to mill for a long time too. So what do you say to airmen when they ask you questions like, how do you do it, and things like that?
You kind of nailed it. To me, it's about boundaries. And I will tell you, me and the better half, we weren't successful at this. There's been a lot of late hours, right? There's been a lot of things that did not happen. Our family, right? Those type of things kind of went on the back burner. And then you kind of sit back now here at the 11th hour before you're about to retire and say, why did we miss all that? Communication is it, and the boundaries are it. If there was an assignment that was to come up that's going to put one of us away from the other, even if it benefited one person, it's not solely their decision. That's a team decision. And I think that's we're talking about the relationship. It's not just that. When I say team, it's you and your better half, right? You, your best friend, you, your family, you, your coworker, you, your boss. At the end of the day, you got to have a discussion about what do we all agree is right. And some are going to be far right, far left, and the answer is in the middle. And both got to be able to come back and say, I'm willing to meet you in the middle. And I will tell you, and sometimes that's what's difficult. Or I'm going to give you this, let's take care of you, when later on, let's pay it back and give me that. The second that you feel like it's just about you and every decision you're making is pretty much self-induced, I will tell you, you will start to fall. And I will tell you, you won't be successful. Because I will tell you, behind anybody that's successful, there is someone there that is genuinely caring about them or giving them advice that probably other people wouldn't do. It takes somebody good to sit there and take care of somebody for them to achieve where they're at. And I will tell you, for me and my wife, we've got it right sometimes, and we absolutely have got it wrong. People think people are just perfect when they see, there's no such thing, You got to keep it real, right? At the end of the day, it's very, very hard. And mill to mill is tough. At the same time, I don't want to discount mill to civilian, right? I mean, but because those that sit at home and take care of the families, that's as much of a job as us.
They've enlisted too, it's still a team game,
That's right.
No, I appreciate you recognizing the civilian piece, because it's the exact same thing, because they have sacrificed too. They're missing events just like an active duty member is too. So let's see, you're a Chief Master Sergeant, I always reference Airmen of today, because Airmen, the things are different, we've talked about things that, like social media, things like that. What does an Airman of today, what can they expect from Chief Master Sergeant John Moore?
Honesty, transparency. I've had a lot of people that will set up appointments to come talk about their career, or, hey, Chief, can you just give me feedback? I'm going to give you honest feedback. And sometimes it's hard, right? It's kind of like bad medicine, right? It's hard to swallow, but at the same time, it's good for you. And sometimes I talk about things like social media. And I will tell you, I think we get a little bit more caught up, because remember when we grew up, we didn't have social media, right? Mm-hmm. At the same time, we may not be chiefs now, right? With that said, I tell people they get caught up in the noise, right? They got friends on social media, they're going to talk about you. How do you answer to that? Here's the answer that I just gave someone a couple weeks ago. They were like, hey, Chief, and people are just talking about me at work. I said, let me ask you a question at the end of the day. I said, if people talk about you, that's a blog. And they was like, yeah. I was like, if you respond, that's a press conference. I said, so get rid of the noise, right? Squelch the noise. You don't owe that response. At the end of the day, surround yourself by the people you want to be. Let the noise get away. The airmen actually came back and said, Chief, I did what you said. I stopped responding. And they said, guess what? They stopped talking about me. Because they're looking for the reaction, man. So I think it's that type of advice. I think our airmen struggle today with the thought that I need to be that. In the world of social media, I should look like that. I should act like that. I tell you, be who you are. At the same time, accept feedback. Not as criticism, but as things to make you better. Get the noise out, man. Don't worry about the social media page. I don't know how I would have responded as an airman today. I think our airmen go through a lot more stuff today than we did. And I think back in the day for me and you, it was, hey, go do, and we went and did. And I think our airmen today are asking the why. And I think what we owe them, and I think it's hard for leaders, is to explain the why. If you can't do it, then you really need to work on that, because that's what you owe our airmen.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. First I want to say thank you. What people don't realize, and I don't share this often, is you're just an amazing dude. You've pushed me to do very well, always keeping me honest. And I want to thank you for that, because I don't do things, and I have to give you credit. You've made a lot of who I am happen, so thank you for that. And lastly, I just want to thank you for what you do for your airmen. You know, you're constantly, you know, we talk about this all the time. A lot of airmen don't see, so I'm going to tell you right now, it's actually happening. You have a chief who fights for you. All airmen, not just airmen in your group, but you have fought for airmen just as long as they're on the installation and probably elsewhere too, but you're always advocating, fighting for your airmen, so thank you for that. Thanks for sharing your story with us today. And man, we look forward to just watching you lead, man. Fights on.
I would like to give you one thing. I do want to do a shout out when we talk airmen, right? The 57th wouldn't be anything without the 99th or our 926 partners, right? So when we talk about airmen, our guard, our reserve, our CGOs, right? Our FGOs, my AB to my chiefs that are amazing out there, I give a shout out because there's no hidden agendas with them. All the airmen that have actually taken care of us, I just want to say thank you back, because I will tell you, our M1, our civilian support, my front staff, those are the people that make a difference behind the scenes that will never get to thank you. Our team PA, right? You know, at the end of the day, if it wasn't for PA, this message wouldn't be getting out there. And I talked about somebody today, and I said, I got to give PA a shout out, right? There's two things I talk about PA. The P is for proud. I'm proud of my maintainers out there. I love my maintainers. At the end of the day, they are better than I've ever been. And if it wasn't for them, we probably wouldn't win the next war. And the A, appreciate. It's all appreciating the support of everybody else that supports us, from the 99th to 926, Team Creech, and so on and so forth. So thank you to them, because we wouldn't be who we are without that whole team concept. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to say thank you, because honestly, out of this whole thing, that was probably the most important. I appreciate
Thanks, brother.
it.
All right.
Load them up, launch them out.
All right, 5C7 out.